Our next guest is in, Patrick Vincent. Not really sure where you're from. I know you're running against the assemblyman, the current assemblyman out of Newport, Mark Butler, but it's great to have you in, and this is why we had you in. Get your background, a little bit about you, and good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Poland.
All right.
Well, Colebrook, my business is in Poland. I'm
Herkimer County guy?
Yes.
All right.
Herkimer County my entire life, yeah.
Just grab that mic a little bit closer if you don't mind, or move to... All right, there you go, so I can hear you properly. All right, good.
There we go.
So throwing your hat in the ring against the current assemblyman from Newport, your political background, your business background, let the folks know.
Well, born and raised a conservative Republican my whole life. Came from basically a definitely upper poor class family with six children in the family. Grew up working for next door neighbors, shoveling snow, raking leaves, and all the way through, and graduated high school. Went to serve my country in the United States Navy.
Okay.
Go Navy.
Yeah. Then from there, basically, it was once I left the Navy, got out, I worked a small time at anybody remember the Union Fork and Hall down in Frankfurt?
Sure, of course.
We used to call it the University of Frankfurt because that's where you went to really learn how to work. Anyway, leaving there, I went to the Department of Corrections for 25 years. And during that time frame in corrections, I just started up a business all by myself called Vincent's Heating.
Sure.
And found out working hard and paid off. Never looked back. Hung up my shingle one day after completing my courses at BOCES. Hey, this is Vincent's Heating, and next thing I know, I'm dancing with half the neighborhoods up there. And now we have, I think, eight employees. 6 full-time, 2 part-time.
Good for you. How'd the winter go for you so far on the heating business?
Numbers are off because of the weather, definitely. You'll see that everywhere. I think all fuel companies are having difficulties. But our main thing was we developed bulk wood pellet delivery 8 years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so it was a really big deal.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
And then we've, I guess, during that time frame, we've just morphed into more and more things, and the bulk wood pellets has actually been a great sideline for us to catch up for numbers that are off in oil.
Neat, and I think it's kind of interesting. One of the things that Sam, our producer there in the booth, has alerted me to your website, which has a saying on there that Republicans are tired of the BS. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yes, well, it's true. Everything from the SAFE Act. We must remember now that the Senate was controlled by Republicans. Or they had a large majority. They could have stopped this.
Sure.
And they didn't.
Something our assemblywoman is very vocal on.
And I just wanted to see where was our assemblyman when he could have stepped out there and been vocal well before this. Now, don't hold your rallies afterwards. The damage is done. You got to get out in front of this thing. I know it was a rush deal. The passed in 72 hours or whatever it was, a record time. But the catalyst was that when you see Skelos and you see Silver get taken down, and then the Senate and the Assembly both kind of like haven't done nothing to take these guys' pensions away from them or done anything to enact anything.
Still receiving their pensions, yep.
That just really stirred the emotions in people and just said enough is enough. Albany has to clean up their nonsense. So that's where the BS comes from. It's just, I still think it's dirty all the way down.
So you've identified 2 issues I think that you're passionate about. One is the SAFE Act.
Yes.
And the other is the legislators who are convicted who are getting pensions.
Yes.
Those are 2 issues that when I'm listening to, those are 2 issues you seem to be passionate about. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Is there a third issue that you're passionate about that you want to get when you say, I want to get to Albany because I want to get to work on this particular issue, other than the SAFE Act and the removal of pensions from those convicted legislators?
I think our first thing, and I think everybody here would agree that we need to do something for our businesses. They need to get some workman's comp reductions. They need to get some property tax reductions. They need some help. If you want to see higher wages come into the Mohawk Valley, you need first to get the nonsense under control with all the regulations. And building a business from the ground up, like I've been there. I know what it is.
So how do you feel about something like a $15 minimum wage hike?
It would, in my particular business, all my employees are paid over that. The drivers, my secretary is not. She gets paid. I'll put it out there, $12.50 an hour, but that's still well above minimum. And but I guess businesses have to create. I guess what I'm trying to say is there should be an environment put in place that's friendly to business. I'm tired of hearing if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Well, that's a bunch of nonsense.
Sure.
Because there should be, New York State should have an open door policy that says, hey, we helped you make it here. We want you to make it here, instead of well, here's a bunch of list of regulations that go on down through.
So you want to change the conversation from saying if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So if you can't make it anywhere else, you can make it here because we're friendly to businesses and we want to help businesses
exactly,
move.
especially upstate businesses where it's a lot different up here than it is downstate. Is we have a much tighter. I guess what I'm trying to say is our employees that we get, they're far and few between to get the good ones because of obviously there's some other structures in play that there just isn't the people up living in the county that there used to be anymore.
So it's tough to find a good employee that you'd want to pay over $15.
Yeah, you gotta go through. Anybody will tell you, go through 6, 8, 10 interviews before you find one decent guy, and that's one decent one that you can train.
Do you ever hire college students or high school students part-time at minimum wage, say in the summer or on breaks to deliver things?
we've done some of that kind of stuff. It's tricky because you got to be careful of workman's comp laws and disability things. You really got to be careful about how you hire those kinds of things to have happen. So we tend to shy away from that to some degree. We did a pilot program last year. We actually hired an ex-con. An ex-convict that he went to work for us for a while, and he admitted it, and everything was well out in front. We had no problem with him, but through his workings, this kind of just didn't pan out. So.
Sure.
Here's an issue that I'm passionate about. Now, Claudia, you can respond to this if you want to. I personally think that the tolls should come off the thruway because I think it's unfair to those of us who live where we do that we have to pay tolls to go from east to west. Now, you can go from Albany to Montreal for free, and people say they need the money to maintain the roads. Well, they maintain the road from Albany to Montreal very well. If you've ever gone on that Northway, it's a very well-maintained road. In most cases, it's 3 lanes on each side. I think it discourages people from coming to upstate New York. I think it's an unfair burden on the people in this area who have to pay that toll. And there are businesses that might want to locate here that may be discouraged because they have to pay that toll to go on the thruway. Tolls are anachronistic. You don't see them very many places anymore except in New York and in Pennsylvania. People who drive to Florida will say you pay the toll in New York, Pennsylvania, then after that it's toll-free the rest of the way down.
You're in the trucking business.
I think that would be a terrific public relations move for New York State because if they ever took the tolls off, other than all these grants they give to individual businesses, they would make, I think, international headlines, and it would showcase New York as really lowering regulations. So you can respond to that if you wish to.
There's no doubt. I mean, that would help tremendously, reducing tolls. The tolls should have been paid for I don't know how long ago. But
1992 exactly. To be exact.
There she is.
That's when the bill should have ended.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a money grab. They'll never reduce it entirely. They'll never take it away.
I got a question for you. Since I sit in the state assembly and I know how frustrating it is as a Republican, I take strong stands.
There's hope on the way.
Thank you. on the assembly, and let me ask you how willing you're going to be to. There's a lot of pressure to conform and to just go along, to get along. Go along with the governor and go along with those things. Where do you think that as a Republican what kind of Republican do you think you would be there? Would you be someone that would be standing up, or would you be someone who against the Democratic progressive agenda, which is what we face in the assembly?
To put it bluntly, I would stand there until they drag me out, because that's just the attitude I have. If we're right, if I believe in my convictions, which I do. Anybody who's worked with me in the Department of Corrections, anybody who's worked with me in business, if I know I'm right, and if I think we're on good ground, I'll stand there until somebody has to drag me away from it, because I am that much of a believer that this is the type of leadership we need down there. We need to stand up, and this is not going to be tolerated any longer.
Well, so another issue with the state assembly is what many people don't realize, that there's very difficult to get a bill passed as a Republican. As unfair and as undemocratic and as wrong as it is, we have to partner with Democrats in order to get bills passed. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Yes. Well, you got to. And that's the whole part about it is like my first thing, hypothetically, with the SAFE Act would be, everybody wants to just jump in and try to repeal it. That is a great strategy to try and just repeal it, but you're going to get so much opposition from the Democrats. Why don't we just try to decriminalize it first? That would be my first initial plan. Let's just take the teeth out of the law. So if we take the teeth out of the law, now you've got a law that sits there that now a judge has the ability, if caught, with illegal firearm of some sort, it's just a violation or a minor traffic ticket type of appearance, that he doesn't lose his firearm, but he just gets summoned for it for whatever reason. But the bottom line there is take the teeth out of the law. Then later we can work on the repeal, because once it's a useless law, it's like,
Well, yeah, you're not going to get it
follow me?
repealed as long as we
Right.
have Cuomo there. So.
Right. So, but if we can take the teeth out of it, that would be my first. I think that's a good approach. I talked to this yesterday with one of the members from the New York State Pistol and Rifle and Pistol Association about that exact same topic, and he agreed. He said that's a pretty good idea, the way to do it. And I think there's some other people working on that same idea.
Talking with Patrick Vincent, a conservative Republican out of Poland, vying for the seat currently held by Mark Butler out of Newport, and a text message kind of along the lines of what Claudia was getting at. Text message coming in asking some of the legislation that you may support, some things that you like out there, and maybe we'll continue with.
Okay. Well, anything to abolish Common Core.
Okay.
Okay. Completely abolish it. And I'm really not a big fan of the regents either. I think our teachers are being left in a position where they're not allowed to teach anymore. They're more. It's like managing your classroom from now on. And teaching to a test. Like on my website, you'll see where I'll kind of parrot my website where I say it's equivalent to brainwashing. It really is. Teaching to a test is just telling who designs the test, okay, who controls that test, okay, and then so they're going to tell teachers, well, you have to teach to those guidelines. That's not cool. That's not cool. The teachers used to teach the whole subject. I challenge anybody, take an 18-year-old kid right out of high school, take him down by the Washington or the Lincoln Monument, say who's sitting in the chair. They probably would. I don't know if they'd get it right.
No,
Let
good
me
point.
give you a pushback on that, though. You say that you want to abolish the regents and let each teacher teach whatever they think would be the appropriate thing. But these students, when they get out of high school, they have to compete statewide or interstatewide. They're going to be going to colleges, and when they go into these colleges, they would have to have a certain degree of knowledge in order to be able to compete with the other students. If you leave the curriculum to each teacher to teach whatever they feel should be appropriate, say when it comes to American history or science or physics, and they say, well, this is what I think is important, and then they're not able to. Do you think they would still be able to compete on a statewide level when they get out of high school? Now they go into a college. They say, but you don't have this basic information. Well, my teacher didn't think that was important.
Well,
that's
I
the pushback on that.
Okay, and that's a very valid point. And here's where I go with that. Not all of our students are capable of going to college. Okay, there's just going to be some of them that are going to just stay on the family farm. They're going to go work in a vocational setting, or they're going to come work at Vincent's Heating Fuel, become a truck driver, which we've done. We've taken people right off the street and just taught them how to drive truck and got them their licenses, got them their hazmats. And when you're a truck driver, you can go anywhere in this world and get a job. That's one of those trades that you learn and have accomplished as you grow up that you can go anywhere and do. Now, the ones that do excel, okay, that's a choice for them. Say, listen, I want to take regents. I want to go to the next level because I want to go to college. I get that. And
So you don't want to abolish the regents. You just want to make it optional.
Yeah, make it
students?
more of an optional idea. I said abolish. It may have been the wrong word, but it's a strong idea to say, listen, knock the mandatory stuff off. Because we have today, and we all know that the family atmosphere today, there's so many things that dictate how a child can perform. Okay, there's economic things, there's divorce, there's some things that are unspeakable that we can talk about that happen in a family setting that will dictate how a child's going to perform in school. Okay, so that child may be learning disabled. I don't know, a whole host of different things. Okay, but to mandate them that they have to take a regents test, I think is kind of nonsense. When you can give them a basic education and go and basically, go on to get a diploma and then work from
Maybe look at the structure and go from there. So
I have a question for you. Is one of the top 3 things that you would like to see, since you're a small business owner and that's a priority, and the facts are that 65% of the new jobs are created by our small business community. What would you advocate for in Albany to try to improve our business friendly? Like, what do you think are the top 3 things that you would think we need to do?
Top 3 things. Reduction in property taxes would be big for businesses. Okay, and I'm not into regulating anything, but I don't know if anybody's been in business and seen their liability insurance ever go down. I don't know anybody who's been in business that ever seen their workman's comp go down. Actually, I have a plan in place that I would like to submit on my opening days at the assembly. Would be a 6-year plan. First 3 years would be cuts for businesses. You get a 3-year cut to incentivize themselves to either hire more or to expand their business. by giving them progressive movements down in their insurance rates, whatever that case
You're
may
talking
be.
about like workers' comp or any kind of liability insurance?
Yeah, we can work it up to.
Okay.
The numbers aren't complete yet, but I was working on a figure of a 50% cut. So based on your dynamics of your company, the program could be set in place where people get a 5% or 10% cut, depending on employees that they hire, or depending on the scope of what they're trying to do to expand their business. Let's face it, if we're going to keep on this mode of high, like I say, workman's comp is a really big one. FICA taxes are just another, your payroll taxes. It's just murder. It's just murder. Every month, every quarter, you got these huge bills that just come in, and you say, "Wow, I had a bad quarter." That
Right.
we didn't pump as much oil. We didn't do as much oil.
Still have to pay the bills.
So
Still got to pay the bills.
Can I ask about?
Yeah, we got
because you're
about a minute or so.
in the heating and fueling business, in the energy business. How do you feel about what's going on in the business with the price of gas and fuel, and the effect on bringing money in, as far as the taxes and where the taxes are spent, because, our oil and gas, or our gas tax, our fuel tax is supposed to be spent on highway, and so much of it isn't. What do you? Yeah, I just if you would talk a little bit about that, since you're in the business of
yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody that drives up Route 8 out of Coldbrook, and it's like driving on a back road. It's horrible. And it's a main state route. I mean, you can't drink a cup of coffee once you leave Coldbrook.
Nope.
It'll go all over you. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. That's how bad those roads are.
Keep going up 29A or 29 that
they're
way.
horrible.
Yep,
They're absolutely
terrible.
horrible. And this is why how's that working for us? You know what? These are a whole lot of changes that got to go into effect. Our infrastructure on the roadways has been abandoned, if you ask me. And I think one program that
amen to that.
I think one of our bigger things is our local towns and villages could use an expansion of the CHIPS program. So instead of sending all these billions, and the Alcoa deal still rubs raw with me. Okay, okay, I know we're protecting some workers up there,
sure.
But $68 million worth. And then,
well, I agree with you on that. The small business community, I mean, we're too small to save.
Yeah, it just
reduce the income tax. Give us a break.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I know we have to do something to protect workers up there, but gee, getting a plan to reduce other ways besides just giving them a gusher of money every time they turn around.